During the mid-1970s, a serial killer terrorized New York City. His murders instilled panic and fear throughout the city. His primary target were young women and couples sitting in parked cars. It was a time when many New Yorkers were afraid to walk the streets or hang out in parked cars. I remember as a young girl living in Brooklyn, one of those shootings was actually a few blocks from my house. My whole neighborhood was so worried. We all avoided the cars as much as possible. The killer? David Berkowitz, also known as the Son of Sam. Now, a Netflix documentary examines how serial killer Berkowitz left the entire city on edge. And this is how the news covered the shocking Son of Sam murders back then. David Berkowitz committed a series of shootings that left 6 people dead and 7 wounded.
I did put a huge spell on you, a lethal satanic one that is as strong as deadly nightshade.
This is the mind of one of America's most notorious serial killers.
Lost souls, half-mad zombies they are. I think it best that you leave all this alone.
These are the thoughts of David Berkowitz, the man they call the Son of Sam.
I do have the ability to summon dark and hidden forces from below. I was reciting every satanic curse I could think of.
These are the letters of David Berkowitz, written from his cell in New York's Atticus State Prison. There is only known communication with the outside world, the only testimony of a silent killer who has repeatedly and steadfastly refused every interview for more than 14 years. These letters provide a shocking insight into the mind of a murderer who held the city hostage to fear during a year-long reign of deadly terror.
The murder spree began in July of 1976. Pretty 18-year-old Donna Loria was shot dead, her girlfriend Jody Valente wounded, when a gunman opened fire on the 2 young women as they chatted in a parked car in the Bronx section of New York.
My daughter was 18 years old, and that's what he took out of my heart, 18 years. And I hope they get him. I really, really do.
More similar killings would follow. As the months passed, a pattern emerged. The primary targets were couples parked in lovers' lanes in the outer boroughs of the city.
I was covered with blood, and the girl was covered with blood. It was a horror. This guy screaming, just screaming and screaming.
Armed with various composite sketches of suspects, police launched what would be the biggest criminal investigation in New York history, hunting the mysterious maniac who stalked his prey with a .44 caliber handgun and who became known as the Son of Sam after leaving a note bearing that alias at one of his murder scenes.
We do have a description of someone who saw him. I'm hopeful that will be helpful, but if you're asking whether we have any indication of who he is or where he might be, the answer is no.
6 young people died, another 7 were wounded, and 13 months passed before the dragnet finally snared the Son of Sam. This chubby, unimposing 24-year-old postal worker was arrested after being traced through a parking ticket issued in Brooklyn near the scene of the last deadly attack that killed Stacy Moskowitz and blinded her boyfriend.
The people of the city of New York can rest easy because the police have captured the Son of Sam.
David Berkowitz was a bachelor and lived alone in this apartment building in the New York suburb of Yonkers. He readily confessed to all the shootings and was sentenced to life in prison in 1978. Since there was no trial, there were many questions David Berkowitz was never given an opportunity to answer. Did he act alone? Was he part of a satanic cult? Did he have information on other murders? And what sick compulsion drove him to kill? Berkowitz has stubbornly remained silent until now.
I could probably type 10 full pages detailing every inconsistency, every known fact that I wasn't alone, that it wasn't me. That gun in my possession is all they've got. But if they only knew the real motive.
Now it can be told has exclusively obtained access to more than 100 letters in which David Berkowitz speaks his tangled mind. The letters were sent to 2 unlikely pen pals. The first is this woman, who agreed to show us the writings only under the condition that she be identified by the alias of Lee Chase. She's a soft-spoken wife, mother, and businesswoman from the heart of America, and she has been corresponding with Berkowitz almost daily for 14 years.
I intend to spend eternity with David Berkowitz. and he intends to spend eternity with me.
Berkowitz has also corresponded with investigative journalist Maury Terry, who has been involved in the Son of Sam case from the beginning, and who wrote the best-selling book, The Ultimate Evil, which documents the murders.
It's obvious that the man has some problems, but the problems that he has are by no means anywhere near what they were portrayed as being by the media and, of course, by Berkowitz himself in his confession.
In the letters, all written to Lee Chase and Maury Terry since 1979, Berkowitz holds back nothing. He talks about his obsession with Satanism.
To them, murder comes easy. Being anti-God, they like nothing better than a good kill.
He talks about other serial killers.
He was sadistic, totally sadistic, whereas I tried to be merciful and end it quickly.
He talks about himself.
Everything culminated with my throat being slashed. I could very well have lost my life, yet it didn't upset me.
He talks about his murders and a macabre graveyard visit to one of his victims.
For a gloating ego need and an emotional need, I set out to find the grave of Valentina Suriani.
August 11th, 1977 was a very big day in the history of the New York City Police Department because that's when members of the department placed David Berkowitz under arrest and charged him with being responsible for the Son of Sam murders. With the arrest, a cloud of terror was lifted from a city that had been unable to relax as long as the killer had remained at large. The arrest might not have been possible had this woman, not this woman, this is Berkowitz being arrested, but you'll see her in a minute, not been walking her dog the day the Son of Sam killed Stacy Moskowitz and wounded her companion Robert Violante not far from her home. This is Cecilia Davis. Miss Davis had seen a policeman ticket Berkowitz's car for parking near a fire hydrant and later saw him at closer range when he drove by her. Mrs. Davis saw Berkowitz again that night when she was walking her dog Snowball. He passed her on the street, and she thought she glimpsed what might have been the barrel of a gun in his hand, although she said later that she couldn't be exactly sure if it was him or not. The next day, when she found the Son of Sam had struck that night, she called police and told them what she knew. Immediately, she was a celebrity, and it was assumed she would collect $37,000 in reward money. $37,000, but she hasn't yet received one single penny.
Do you think that you've been betrayed by anyone? That this was just a lot of talk when people were talking about rewards, and now they're backing down when they...
No, I feel I've been betrayed by the police department. Because after David Berkowitz was arrested, they don't wanted no part of me. I was reading in the papers, parties for the police department, for David Berkowitz, everything David Berkowitz. Promotions for David Berkowitz. Where was I? They had him, so they didn't need me no more.
What about the Citizens Union? They're talking about deciding who, if anyone, should get the reward. Does that make you happy or not? You think the Citizens Union will properly decide that issue?
I think they would, because if that's a Citizen Union, there's a board. I'm sure they would. Mm-hmm. If they decide, but as long as the police department says I had nothing to do with it, the union can do nothing either.
His reign of terror finally ended when he was captured in August of 1977. And back then, we didn't have cell phones. We actually had house phones, and we called each other. It was like a big celebration. We all went out. We rode in our cars. We parked in our cars.
To the hundreds of cops who worked on the Son of Sam investigation, the balmy evening of August 10th was like Christmas in August. The man who had terrorized millions would kill no more. 24-year-old David Berkowitz was walked into police headquarters by the cops who worked so long to catch him. As some detectives displayed the .44 caliber revolver and other weapons seized with Berkowitz, the man who killed 6 and wounded 7 was taken into an upstairs room to be interviewed. Joe Coffey was a detective sergeant back then. He remembers his feelings when Berkowitz came into the room.
I actually witnessed the bodies of some of these girls being brought to the morgue and, you know, things that were kind of traumatic to me. So I had a certain amount of rage in my heart regarding Mr. Berkowitz. But as soon as they brought him into the conference room that particular evening, and I was able to sit down and speak with him for 2 hours, it was like talking to a vegetable. He didn't blink for the whole 2 hours we were interviewing him, and he smiled constantly, and he spoke about killing people like you and I speak about changing in jobs or having a drink or things like that. He was totally without emotion.
The Son of Sam's final hit happened in a lover's lane in Brooklyn. A beautiful young blonde girl, Stacy Moskowitz, was killed. Her companion, Bobby Violante, was partially blinded by the .44 caliber bullets. But now, questions are being raised about Berkowitz's role in the final hit. Some theorize someone else pulled the trigger that night. Stacy Moskowitz's mother believes that theory.
I realize Berkowitz did not kill her, but he did kill. He was at Stacy's murder, and I want Stacy's killer.
Timothy Dowd was the police inspector in charge of the Son of Sam case. He still thinks Berkowitz acted alone.
He made 3 different confessions in court, one in Brooklyn, one in Queens, and one in the Bronx. And to say at this stage of the game that there are other people involved is something that I think is far-fetched.
Ridiculous?
No, not ridiculous, because there's always a possibility that somebody else can be involved. But I just don't believe so, based on my own experience.
Heavily armed convoys brought Berkowitz to court. He was given 6 25-year to life sentences. But was justice done? Listen to the parents of Donna Loria, the Son of Sam's first victim, moments after the sentence was read.
I wanted to see justice done, but it isn't the way I wanted it. This guy here, I still got to pay to support him after what he did to me and everybody else. I can't see it. I can't see it. I still say they should have brought back.
Got a little satisfaction, okay? We'll bring our loved ones back, but a little satisfaction. Okay, that's it.
Mike, what would you rather have seen happen?
I would rather have seen him bring back the chair and him get what he deserved. This is what he deserved after all the hardship he's caused. He should have been killed.
Bob O'Brien, Fox News, Channel 5.
What was supposed to be the day Berkowitz learned his fate instead became the day chaos broke out in the courtroom when he tried to jump out of the 7th floor window of the courtroom. This resulted in his sentencing being delayed, and here's how the drama unfolded.
It was supposed to be the day to pay, when a killer named David Berkowitz would hear his fate for killing 6 young people, wounding 7 others, and causing tremendous pain for a lot of other people, including the parents of the dead and the maimed. He could have heard himself sentenced to as much as 200 years in prison without any possibility of parole for 30 years. But that's not the way it happened, and Bob O'Brien explains why.
Outsiders expected this to be the final act in David Berkowitz's drama with the criminal justice system. A corrections department spokesman said Berkowitz seemed fine when he left Kings County Hospital this morning. It was shortly after his arrival at the State Supreme Court building in Brooklyn that David Berkowitz began to do what the insiders had been expecting. Most of those in the courtroom, including several Son of Sam shooting victims and members of victims' families, were among the outsiders. They knew something was wrong when prosecutors and all but 2 court officers suddenly left the courtroom 20 minutes after sentencing was to have begun. Word filtered out that Berkowitz had lunged for a window in a 7th floor security office near the courtroom. 3 court officers were taken to the hospital after being bitten and kicked trying to subdue the Son of Sam. Apparently, Berkowitz didn't wish to be sentenced today. The moment he was led into the courtroom, Berkowitz curled his lips in a snarl. His eyes darted across the crowded room until he spotted Nasa Moskowitz, whose daughter Stacy was his last victim. He broke into a taunting chant. "Stacy was a whore, Stacy was a whore." Mrs. Moskowitz stood and yelled back at him, "You animal, she is not." Berkowitz shouted, that's right, I'd kill her again, I'd kill her again." As court officers wrestled Berkowitz out of the court, Bobby Violante, who'd been almost totally blinded the night Stacy was killed, began weeping openly. Then Brooklyn District Attorney Eugene Gold let it be known who the insiders were. "We were told last week the defendant would do something," Gold told Judge Joseph Corso. Corso then revealed that all 3 prosecutors, Berkowitz's attorneys, and Corso himself were pre-warned Friday when psychiatrist Daniel Schwartz submitted a report on his pre-sentencing interview with Berkowitz. Corso said Schwartz wrote, quote, "When asked what will happen in court, his mood changes once again. Now his face lights up, his eyes twinkle. He replies, 'I know, but I'm not telling.'" 18-year-old Donna DeMacy, shot in the neck by Berkowitz, got into an argument with an unidentified courtroom spectator afterwards. Shouting Stacy was a whore.
Felt like killing him. I felt like going up there and grabbing his eyes out because it was an act. And it was an act. He was an act.
You think he's doing it because he's trying to get away with something?
He wants more time.
It's not true.
Oh, yes, it is, because he wants more time for the case.
No, this man is not understood.
I made a study of demonology the last few days. Just a minute.
Come on, lady. Come on. Listen, I was shot by him. I don't need anything you have to tell me. If you were shot by him, you might feel different, too.
No, I wouldn't feel different.
Yes, you would.
You would, believe me. I don't care any about your family.
I have a young son that was injured the same way.
Oh, really?
And
By
I turned the other cheek.
By him?
demons?
Yes, by demons, real demons, yeah.
Let's go.
If I had him with me right now, I would do my thing for him. I would do what I have to do to him.
What do you mean?
Let's just say after I finished him, he wouldn't be around. He wouldn't be around anymore.
So David Berkowitz was escorted back to Kings County Hospital, his sentencing delayed by judges from Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx until June 12th. A third psychiatric examination will be performed before that date, something only Bronx District Attorney Mario Marola objected to, saying as long as a year ago this Berkowitz outburst was part of a grandiose plan. The judges slapped a gag order on all DAs and defense attorneys. David Berkowitz was given another 3 weeks before he must once again be brought face to face with the majesty of the law. Bob O'Brien, Channel 5 News.
Eventually, David Berkowitz did learn his fate.
He was a creature of the night, a tormented human who stalked his victims for killing at random and under cover of darkness. The normal young people of this largest city in the nation became afraid to walk the streets or park in cars. And before the .44 caliber killer was finally caught, he killed 6 young people and wounded 7 others. But it took only 64 minutes for the final legal process to run its course this morning, and Bob O'Brien was in the courtroom.
This should be the last of the expensive caravans of police and correction officers needed to see David Berkowitz safely through the criminal justice system. They got the son of Sam to the Supreme Court building in Brooklyn at 9:20 this morning. Court and correction officials were determined there be no disruption of the sentencing by the defendant or anyone else. Berkowitz was strangely subdued as he was led into court. The handcuffs on his wrists were tightly shackled to a black leather belt around his stomach. It was never removed throughout the session. His face was pale, his eyes vacant. There were reports Berkowitz had been heavily sedated before being brought to court. Brooklyn Justice Joseph Corso read from a June 8th report by psychiatrists at Kings County Hospital who stated, "It is our professional opinion the defendant is fit to be sentenced." So Corso sentenced Berkowitz for taking the life of Stacy Moskowitz with his .44 caliber revolver. Corso meted out the maximum term available to him under state law, 25 years to life in prison. Berkowitz sat down as Brooklyn District Attorney Eugene Gold made an appeal that was to be echoed by his counterparts from the Bronx and Queens. Gold demanded the state legislature change the law so there could be life sentences with no possibility of parole ever. As Corso was about to adjourn the Brooklyn session, a friend of Stacy Moskowitz, Daniel Carrique, rushed up the aisle screaming, "Berkowitz, you're going to burn in hell, you're going to burn in hell." More than a dozen court officers and detectives jumped Carrique and carried him kicking out of the courtroom. He was later charged with assault and obstruction of governmental justice. Bronx Justice William Kappelman was the only judge to ask Berkowitz about the demons he claimed drove him to kill. Kappelman asking, "Did you take the plea of guilty by yourself, or did the demons tell you to do it?" Berkowitz, "I took the plea, but that's what they wanted. They had some influence." The judge again, "Were you in the power of demons when you pled guilty?" Berkowitz, "No. I made the decision, but not alone." Then Kappelman, telling Berkowitz, "You have groveled to the very depths of human degradation," gave him the maximum sentences for the killings and woundings in the Bronx, which may have satisfied the law, but not the son of Sam's victims.
He can be paroled after 30 years, right? So if there's the chance that he's able to come out, we better start looking around our heads again, because Berkowitz might pop up behind cars or wherever, you know. Then later he says the demons, you know, if people believe in this, I don't believe in it. There's no such thing in my eyes, and because I'm a realistic person, I do not believe in crap like this.
What do you think should happen to David Berkowitz?
He should, right now, he should drop dead, right back there, wherever he is. He should drop dead immediately.
Oh, yeah, you know, I'd rather see him dead, but I guess that's the best they can do. You know, I don't know. That's all I can say.
Nisa, how do you feel about it, the sentencing?
I think it's sick. I want him dead. No amount of years. How many years can you put on a child's life? And to me, I can't see any. And I just think this whole damn thing is just a goddamn shame. With the police, with everything, it's just becoming a farce now. I mean, that animal, he is a sick bastard. I don't care. He is a sick son of a bitch.
So for killing 6 young people and wounding 7 others, David Berkowitz got a total of 315 years in consecutive jail terms, plus more than a century of concurrent sentences. His attorneys say they'll file an appeal. No matter what, Berkowitz will be eligible for parole in 25 years. For the present, possibly a couple days, he'll remain in Kings County Hospital. Although it's probable he'll next be housed at Sing Sing, state correction officials won't say where they'll move Berkowitz or when. It's for his protection. Bob O'Brien, Channel 5 News.
While in prison, the son of Sam faced his own attack.
In the summer of 1979, David Berkowitz was working as a porter in a high-security section of New York's Atticus State Prison when he was attacked by a fellow inmate. His throat was slashed. It took doctors 56 stitches to save his life. Berkowitz, as always, refused to name his attacker. Berkowitz fondly talked about the attack in this letter to pen pal Lee Chase, telling how he was reading a satanic book at the time of the slashing and blaming his brush with death on himself.
It was full of satanic symbols, prayers, and most of all, pictures. It was a picture of a goat head attached to the body of a man. It was called Baphomet. I was fascinated by it. However, everything was happening so subtly, so slowly, that I never connected the book to this. Anyhow, everything culminated with my throat being slashed. I could have very well lost my life, yet it didn't upset me. You know, this slashing I got, I realize this now. It was metaphysical in nature. It was I who brought it about. It was I who unconsciously willed this for myself. But I now understand this hidden death wish that is also mingled with satanic powers.
Just a few years after his killing rampage, son of Sam claimed he was a victim of exploitation.
David Berkowitz, the son of Sam killer, is doing 315 years for killing 6 people 3 years ago. Actually, he's up for parole in 30 years. He was found to be insane during his trial, but he has since admitted that he was just pretending to be out of his mind. In fact, he's now working to prove that he is competent to handle his own affairs.
The most infamous inmate at Attica Prison says he wants to repay the families of his victims. David Berkowitz, the subject of a $1 million movie and book about the son of Sam, wants all his profits to go to the families of those that he has injured.
I suppose I do owe him something. Of course, nothing I can do could be undone. I don't deserve sympathy or anything. I don't want it. I just have a debt to pay, and as a man, I have to pay it. That's all there is to it.
According to Berkowitz and his jailhouse lawyer, the court-appointed conservator made the movie and book deal without Berkowitz's knowledge and is now taking an unfair cut of the profits.
The Crime Compensation Board is supposed to manage all the monies that a criminal would get from the sale of his or her life story. And the court-appointed conservator has challenged this, and she wants to manage the money and take a percentage of this money and diminish the funds that would normally go to the victims.
But to make sure the families of his victims get what they deserve, Judge Conable says Berkowitz will have to return to New York City and fight his case in the same Brooklyn court that first appointed him a conservator. Berkowitz, meanwhile, says he is competent enough to handle his own affairs, adding that the proposed book and screenplay violate his rights.
Well, it's totally inaccurate. The man has me listed as doing crimes I didn't do. I had done enough harm without having to more than double the body count in order to make the book sell. I think that's a deplorable action and shouldn't meet the standards of the publishing industry.
Today, at least, David Berkowitz says he too felt like a victim of exploitation. At Attica Prison, David Lee Miller for the 10 o'clock news.
And we need to tell you that we tried and failed tonight to reach anyone at McGraw-Hill for a comment.
When the Son of Sam case broke, the state legislature rushed through a new law to make sure that David Berkowitz would not make any money from the sale of his life story. But court rulings said that Berkowitz's conservator could hold on to the nearly $200,000 from movie deals. Well, now Governor Carey has signed a new law preventing that. The Crime Victims Compensation Board will soon ask a judge to give it Berkowitz's money so that his victims can apply for a share.
David Berkowitz made a lot of money off murder. The Son of Sam made close to $200,000 from a movie and books based on his killing 6 people, wounding 7 others. But the state legislature passed a law to keep criminals from making money off their crimes in the state. However, the conservator for Berkowitz sued, claiming she was above that law, and lawyers had to claim in for $120,000. Well, finally, after 8 years, the case has been settled. Justice Dominic Lodato said the conservator and lawyers don't deserve a penny. The Son of Sam victims do, and that blood money will be spread around to them.
Governor Cuomo has signed a new Son of Sam law. The original law was passed after it looked like David Berkowitz might make a lot of money for his murderous exploits as the Son of Sam. Berkowitz is still in prison, more than a decade away from any chance of parole, And now the governor says the public is getting a chance to hit back at the crooks.
A system of criminal justice which appears every day to fail to catch all the bad people and punish all the bad people adequately, and that's the way people think of it, on this occasion at least will repair some of that imperfection.
The new law increases the amount of awards to victims and increases the amount of time a victim can sue after the crime. The Supreme Court ruled the original law violated the defendant's First Amendment rights.
Under New York state law, David Berkowitz is entitled to a parole hearing every 2 years. He first became eligible for parole in 2002 after serving 25 years. In 2004, he had his second parole hearing.
Serial killer David Berkowitz is denied parole a second time.
Now, for many, this comes as no surprise. Berkowitz, also known as the Son of Sam, went on a rampage in New York back in the 70s, killing 6 people. He's serving 6 consecutive life sentences in prison. Berkowitz has been keeping busy behind bars by running his own website. It contains his musings on everything from Columbine to the 9/11 attacks. But families of his victims are outraged, and they're calling for this website to be shut down.
The Son of Sam killer says he does not want to be released from prison because he says he doesn't deserve to be. That's what David Berkowitz told his parole board. Now, Berkowitz, you remember, killed 6 people in the city during the 70s. He now works with sight-impaired inmates and helps out in the chapel. He says he wants to devote his life to ministerial services, even if he stays in prison the entire time.
And that was the news then.